to the ATX Education Library. This video describes one of the ATX Advanced Calculations package features regarding Form 1099-Q calculations. If a taxpayer takes a distribution from a Coverdell Education Savings Account, or ESA, or a Qualified Tuition Program, QTP, you'll need to calculate how much of that distribution is taxable. Taxpayers who receive a distribution should receive Form 1099-Q to report the amounts. This amount is reported as income on Form 1040, Schedule 1, Line 8. Click the field, then click the Jump To icon to open the worksheet. Enter the information on the Qualified Tuition Program or Coverdell ESA distribution lines. Some funds received for education expenses are tax-free, including tax-free scholarships, Veterans Educational Assistance, Pell Grants, or employer-provided educational funds. With most ATX packages, you'll need to determine the taxable amount from the 1099-Q manually, then enter this amount on the Line 8 Other Income worksheet. ATX Advanced Calculations helps you determine that taxable amount by allowing you to enter more information in the return and by performing complex calculations for you to ensure your taxpayer gets the most accurate and beneficial result. To do this, you'll need to enter the taxpayer, spouse, and dependent information as you normally would. This means entering the information on the main information worksheet for Form 1040. If the dependent is an individual who attended a qualifying school for education credits, you'll need to indicate this on the dependent's worksheet. Then you'll need to add Form 1099-Q and enter the information for the distribution. After you complete Form 1099-Q, you can designate which amounts are taxable and non-taxable. To do this, you'll need to report your qualified education expenses. These steps are the same regardless of which ATX package you have. You'll need to open Form 1040 Education Expense Worksheet, then select the number of qualifying educational institutions for the taxpayer, spouse, or dependent. Next, click the Input tab at the bottom and complete the information for the 1098-T. One difference you'll see ATX Advanced Calculation is the ability to select the type of school attended from a drop-down list. Depending on which school type you choose, the Input tab expands to include additional fields to complete. Schools that are not considered higher education institutions, such as elementary or high schools, do not qualify for some of the credits. After you complete the 1098-T, if the taxpayer received any scholarships, you'll need to click the Scholarship tab to review or add any information related to this amount. Most of this form is calculated, but you should still verify the information is correct. For the scholarship amount to calculate as tax-free, you'll need to verify that the student is a candidate for degree checkbox is selected. Next, click the Education Expenses Detail tab and answer the yes or no questions regarding eligibility to claim education credits. Scroll down, and ATX Advanced Calculations preparers can add adjustments or allocations in this section of the form. After you've entered all the amounts and answered all the questions related to the higher education expenses, click the Optimization Worksheet tab. Then click the Optimize button to allow ATX to choose the most beneficial education credit for this return. Once you've entered all of the offsets, you can view the total taxable and non-taxable amounts on Form 1099-Q on the Coverdell ESA Taxable and Basis Worksheet. Keep in mind, if one beneficiary has a distribution from a Coverdell ESA and a distribution from a Qualified Tuition Program, the education expenses must be allocated between those two accounts. ATX automatically calculates and reports this on the 1099-Q Allocation of Expenses worksheet. All taxable amounts from Form 1099-Q flow to Form 5329, Additional Taxes on Qualified Plans. For more information about qualified education expenses, Coverdell ESA, and the Form 1099-Q, review the IRS Publication 970, Tax Benefits for Education. Finally, the interest accrued by bonds issued after 1989 are subject to taxes on the return in the year that they're used. Taxpayers can offset these amounts by allocating these funds to go to higher education expenses as well on the Form 1040 Education Expenses Worksheet. ATX Advanced Calculation takes these amounts and transfers them to the 1099-Q or the 8815, depending on other factors such as the total amount of education expenses, any other scholarships or grants that cover those expenses, and the beneficiary of the distributions. This concludes the lesson on the ATX Advanced Calculations for Form 1099-Q. For more information on using ATX, visit the ATX Education Library on the Customer Solutions Center.